Hi, Krista. Today I want to talk to you about Women's Rights News Network, because they're a group on Facebook. I follow a lot of really great ones, but they have 749,000 likes. I feel that is disproportionate considering the quality of the content that they purvey. I'm not saying they're bad or evil, it's just, well, let me show you. I'll give you a sample of their content in a day. These Afghani girls want to skateboard. That's good and important. So far, so good. I am an everyday feminist. Definitely women's rights news. How to get a beach body. Some fat positivity. This is fantastic. And then a statement about equal rights with that same women's liberation logo. Excellent stuff. And then a quote from President Obama about women's rights. A statement from a famous female tennis player. So far, we're 5 for 5. This next one is just hilarious. This is great. I don't know why I would have any sort of problems with this website. This girl who got shot trying to defend women's rights to access education. This is a first grader who's an excellent computer programmer. The cover image from Wired about the next Steve Jobs, who is apparently a young girl. The next one's a little more complicated. So it's an image from the struggle to pass the Americans with Disabilities Act. That's good, and I think that's important. But there's a tendency here and elsewhere for people without disabilities to use images of people with disabilities as inspiration in sort of a patronizing way that doesn't necessarily honor their struggle. Little girls with dreams, definitely women's rightsy. Don't judge a situation you've never been in. That's sort of related to women's rights. Then two things about breast cancer, and that's a thing that definitely predominantly affects women. Tina Fey is a woman, so there's that. And Lucille Ball, also a famous woman, advocate for women's rights. This is a political statement from a woman, so sort of on the same lines. I don't really understand what this has to do with women's rights. Now I'm lost. What are we doing here? Strong women scare weak men? I don't think that's quite on message, but that's fine. They're just trying to sell some t-shirts. So this is a little bit problematic, but beauty is not as important as intelligence. That's fine. Then this one, which reproduces the male gaze, but is sort of women's rightsy. And then this, which is reproducing the male gaze to sell jewelry. Now we've reached problematic territory. So the problem is not that people consider the mind sexy. That's great. It's wonderful to consider that the mind is sexy. But the problem is that we live in a culture that equates women's value with their sexiness. I think it would be better to live in a world where the measure of a woman was not how sexy she is, but how intelligent she is, which is similar, but slightly different. And then this last thing is just a shitstorm. 50% of people are more likely to do what you ask them if you speak it right in their ear and lightly touch their forearm. So if you touch people and lean into them, you're more likely to be able to coerce them into doing what they want. So in addition to just sort of encouraging people to moderately harass, stroke, assault other people, don't touch people without their consent, don't try and coerce them into doing things that they don't want to do. On top of that, 50% of whom? Who wrote this study? How was this operationalized? What are you talking about? This is shenanigans on top of shenanigans. And that's how this page is every day. Some good stuff, some irrelevant stuff, and one or two images that are just completely unacceptable. Not so unacceptable that I want to unsubscribe from the page, but just unacceptable enough for me to want to complain about it on the internet. Krista, I will see you tomorrow. Dislike it, unlike it, dislike it, anti-like it.